So after my plea yesterday with Mr. Trump to call Tim Walz and then fire Greg Bovino and do a bunch of other stuff, I'm not saying he was listening to me. I'm just saying I was reading the cards and it looked like it was obvious. We saw that he did call Tim Walz and Greg Bovino is on his way out. He's fired. I'm just like, is somebody listening to me? Are they watching? Let's go through how we got here in the first place with Greg Bovino. Let's go through his career, shall we? It's a full circle moment that the Atlantic is reporting from insiders that he's let go because last July, the Atlantic did an article about Greg Bovino and how he got into the position that he did. And I think it bears needing to remind the audience of this really important fact that under Joe Biden, border crossings were actually falling. And that's from policy. And even though Donald Trump's rhetoric during the campaign trail was that Joe Biden opened up the borders and there were floodgates. And if you look at it here, look at this. The Joe Biden, look at the numbers at the bottom here. These are the border crossings. I did a video on it. Check it out here.
Didn't indicate earlier that border crossings and migrant crossings were low and going down. And the answer is they did. Actually, in January, in February, in March, in April, in May, in June, in July, in August, in September, in October, in November, before the election, no one pays attention. The fact of the matter is the Trump campaign is masterful at lying and spreading misinformation through its MAGA base, which then trumpets that misinformation and spread it widely.
Back to the Atlantic article where they essentially said that there were 19,000 border agents, but Joe Biden's policy has caused the border crossings to plummet so much so that they were bored. It says they were left at the border essentially with far less work and more time. And so this is when Greg Bovino was on his way out because he was involved in some sort of lawsuit where he lied. He called migrants a really horrible name and racist names. And we called out on it by the judge. He denied it. And eventually the judge was like, but you signed off on this complaint here. You signed off and admitted it. And he was like, oh, my bad. So he was a horrible person, already racist, on his way out during the Biden administration. And he knew Trump was coming in. So he decided, here's my chance to audition for a big job. So right here, according to Atlantic, what he did was get a bunch of border agents to go north into the interior and just start harassing people, racially profiling people, just tearing up people, just making a hot mess of things. And Donald Trump liked that. He already got Kristi Noem, who was a puppy killer, goat killer, according to herself in her book. And so Donald Trump was assembling his goon squad. So that's how this guy got the job. And throughout his tenure, he did just that. He led those guys to do sorts of things. There were so many different cases where Greg Bovino's statements, text messages, he threw pepper sprays himself. He violated court orders. He lied. He threw tear gas after Judge Sarah Ellis in Chicago was like, do not do that. Do not throw tear gas without warning. There's videos of him doing it anyway and lied and said he'd do it because his helmet got hit with a rock, and the pictures of him throwing the tear gas shows that he didn't have a helmet on. So he lied a lot. And even after the judge was like, don't do this, he was like, we're going to do it anyway. So he was like bucking back against the judges. Someone has a reporter were able to zoom in on one of his text messages he was sending, essentially saying, yeah, we're kicking butt and this feels so good. And so when you hear the folks after they killed Alex Preddy to say something like this is like, this is like some violent video game. This is just like that. It's because at the top, Greg Bovino looks at this as combat and he's going after these people. He's racist. He dehumanizes folks. He doesn't value their lives. And he's leading this band of goons to do these violent things. And when he gets reined in, he doesn't like the idea of accountability. After the Preddy killing, which obviously everyone who looked at it looked like this was just murder, he's still defending him, even after like the top guys are probably saying, all right, because we saw Tom Blanchet, who's the deputy attorney general. We saw Donald Trump, and we saw Kristi Noem pull back on just labeling it and trying to blame Freddie the way they blame really good. We saw that. And so while everyone at the top was kind of scaling back, Greg Bovino was still going at it and still saying the ICE agents are the victims here. And he's like the gaslighting and just saying we need to protect the ICE agents. And he's so go against the what it looks like on TV, what it looks like to our eyes. The National Rifles Association, the Second Amendment gun owners, they're split on this. You have all these folks who normally be on their side saying this doesn't look good. Fox News has come out against this. The Libertarians are coming out against this. So the administration knows they're back against the wall. So they have to get his fall guy. And it's easy to get the guy who was on his way out, who just had the job for a short time. He got the job by auditioning, by being a violent, racist brute to some people in California to show off for the job, to show that he's capable of rounding these people all in, of being racist and inhumane and dehumanizing and violent and encouraging his boys to do more and to just do whatever the hell they want and be lawless. And that's how he got the job, because he did some lawless, crazy shit to some migrants. And he knew that he was on his way out from Joe Biden for doing that. The Joe Biden leadership didn't like that, but he knew the Trump leadership would do that. So someone who just came in like that violently is easy to be the fall guy, because he's a low guy on the totem pole, and he was the one at the helm of this violence. Though Kristi Noem, she just let it happen, and her Corey Lewandowski, who's her partner in crime, just let it happen also from a safe distance, and they just defended it. Though if their eyes can see that this is not good, they let it go. So, and then, and she just let a lot of stuff go. So it's possible she's an evil person, but she yielded the reins to Corey Lewandowski, to Stephen Miller, to Greg Bovino, to perhaps Stephen Miller and other folks. Just she's in charge, but rather than be in charge and make independent decisions, she let other people influence her and do it. And then also because she killed her dog, that's her too, and she's defending us all sorts of things. So you are the ultimate. You're going to take the hit for it. And there's just been time from the whole year. It's been a year of bumbling mess, and so I'm not surprised that he is on the outs, and there's inside folks that said she's on the way out too. And I just you just need to go ahead and make the rounds and get rid of everybody. Stephen Miller is your biggest problem. You got to get rid of Stephen Miller. You got to get rid of Tricia McLaughlin. And when Kristi Noem goes, I hope Tricia McLaughlin leaves too. You got to get rid of all of them, because while we don't want Trump around and we like him to leave and get out the office, but this is a start. We'll take these other people being gone. So I think he's probably realizing that he needs these people gone if he's going to try to survive. The Republicans that are running in November is like every single thing you're doing is like we're out of there. They're not going to vote for us. People are going to stay home. We can't ask people to come vote for us to keep us in office when you're doing these things. And I think that's what it came down to. So, so that's it for Greg Bovino. He was on his way to retirement. He's 55 years old. He's 2 years away from retirement. He was on his way for an early retirement anyway during the Joe Biden term in January 2025. He was on his way out to retirement. So they go back to retirement. It was a big mistake to hire him. Not a mistake if you want to be brutal, if you want racism, perfect hire. But when you get to this point where his brutality, his racism, leading those band of goons to be so goonish to people, and then the imagery of the Minnesota National Guard handing out pizza, water, and drinks and donuts and these green vests to the protesters, and say we're wearing green vests, we're the good guys. That's not a good look. And opposed to the evilness, and the evilness is so much evilness is being reported. It's not even funny. They lost the plot. Anyway, so bye, Greg Bovino. Good riddance.